Oh, a couple of people. Hi guys. Hey everyone. Thanks for joining on this Friday afternoon. Hope it's as sunny where you're at as it's where Boris is at. Um, we're a tad late because he was actually still finishing his ice cream. So but yeah, you know the drill. If you have any questions for us, feel free to drop them in the chat. And yeah, other than that, I think Boris and I are just gonna uh, kick the can a little bit about everything Google Ads stuff. But if you have questions about digital marketing, entrepreneurship, freelancing, whatever, let us know, and we'll be more than happy to take your questions and answer them.
Exactly. I see Nick in the call. I wanted to give him a special shout out as officially being the first subscriber to our YouTube channel. Like he came through within the minute after I posted it. So yeah, that was big up, Nick.
That's pretty special. That's
Yeah,
pretty
man.
special. Appreciate it, Nick. I already subscribed with 2 profiles, so
Yay.
doubled our subscriber count.
That's amazing. They don't have to be engaged or comment or anything. Just subscribers, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Okay. While questions and people are still coming in, you got anything from this week, like insights from accounts you'd like to share, special things you saw?
I don't have anything in that regard, but the thing that I found super interesting this week was a discussion that I'm having over on Twitter with Mike Ryan.
Okay.
I'm not sure if you've seen this, but if you segment your Performance Max campaigns by ad destination, there's a
Okay.
there's a huge old chunk of unknown, right? So
Okay.
the others are, of course, website, get directions, phone call, blah blah blah, all that sort of stuff. But
Yeah.
that's a big old chunk with unknown. And I checked in a couple of my accounts after he said that because that unknown actually has CPC data and cost and conversion and revenue. So we're a bit baffled about what might be going on in there. There's a couple of suspicions maybe, but we're not quite clear yet on what that may be. So I'm thinking it's got something to do with the Gmail placement.
Yeah.
But then that's sort of a discussion around definitions, right? Because Google says like if you expand, for instance, if you expand the Gmail placement, the ad,
Mhm.
that's an engagement, right?
Yep. In a click.
And then is that a click or is that
Yeah.
engagement?
No. So if somebody opens up your Gmail ad, that counts as a click.
And you pay for that?
Absolutely.
Oh, see, or is that written somewhere in the documentation? Because I was like looking through the help center and I couldn't find that. And Mike also wasn't sure about that. But that was my first thought that it may have to do with Gmail expansions before people click through to the website.
So so here, if there's a help ticket in the support.google. I'll drop the link in the chat.
Yeah,
So there's a
that's
help
super cool.
ticket where multiple people say you only get charged once. So you don't get charged for expanding the ad and someone clicking to the website, right? But you get charged on the expansion of the ad, not on the click to the website.
All right. Okay.
That's
Okay.
how I understood it.
I get that. All right. That's super interesting. So if we're following that logic, so someone is just expanding the thing, not clicking through to the website. If there's conversions and conversion value attributed to that, what is that now? Is that more of an engaged view conversion? Do you get what I mean? Or is that PMAX attributing a sale that occurs later down the line to itself?
Oh yeah.
That's the
So
question I'm having.
okay, so you mean when somebody expands the Gmail ad, right?
Yep.
So how I understand it is that will be counted under clicks, so can also now go to your click-based conversions.
Right. But that person didn't click through the website. So
Yeah.
effectively, there has to be another ad interaction after that, right? So people can actually go to the website and make the purchase. Or could it also be a direct type in and then people purchase and that is attributed to PMAX? Am I making sense at all? I'm not sure.
You are making sense. I think it's the latter, actually.
Okay.
Because
Okay.
because let's say let's take another channel into consideration. Let's say YouTube.
Mhm.
Let's say you click on a YouTube ad, but not
Yeah.
toward the website, toward the channel of the company.
Get that. Yeah.
And later you go direct to the website. That will count and convert. That will count as a conversion for your YouTube campaign.
Okay.
So following the same logic, this should
Mhm.
happen for a demand gen or PMAX campaign in Gmail as well.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Interesting. Well, it'd be interesting to see what Ginny Marvin has to say about this, or if she can actually shed some more light on it, or what she's even about to say. We don't know, right?
No, we don't know exactly.
Yeah. That's super interesting. So that's sort of the type of brain exercises or thought exercises that I like to occupy myself with.
No, but it's a good one. It's a really interesting one. And to be fair, on that note, like the Google owned placements used to be really good before they put Gmail in there.
Mm.
I think they were a lot better before Gmail was in there, I think. Because now you just have this watered down data since you don't know whether someone actually went to the website or not.
Yeah, that's true. Okay.
Also, just on that note, just wondering do you think that they will have unknown at destination if it's same like search terms, if it's too unique to show?
Privacy, you mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Honestly, I don't think that logic makes sense to me. I mean, with a search term, it'd be so. If you imagine you run like a local lead gen campaign for, I don't know, like an oncologist or proctologist or something, right? You're like in
Yeah.
you're like in Antwerp, and here comes Michael de Boek typing in, I have problems with my prostate, right? Then I mean, it's just yeah. I mean, yeah. But you get where I'm going with this.
Mhm.
So if it's a small enough geo, and if it's a specific enough search term, and if that patient who entered that search actually shows up at the clinic, for instance, or it could be anything, could be divorce lawyer, could be, I don't know, something, right? Something that's a bit more susceptible to privacy breaches of some form. Then I get that it should be stored under other search terms due to privacy concerns. But like with the Gmail, you don't know who these, like, which account this got delivered to, right? So you're not gonna know, and you're not gonna, like, I don't know why it should be stored under unknown for that reason.
You're right. You're right. What about bounces where they don't actually reach the website?
So you're saying someone's clicking through from the Gmail ad, but then they bounce?
No, any ad, display, YouTube, and they don't actually reach the website.
That shouldn't be filed under unknown. I think it'd be in the advertiser's interest to know, and to be able to measure quality of traffic. Again, provided that there's no sensitive information or private information contained in a search term. So like
Fair.
the example that Google likes to give, people have a habit of Googling their symptoms and then entering their social security number as well. Of course, that should be under other search terms, right?
Mhm.
But I think like a bounce shouldn't be under unknown. But I've never thought of that. What do you think?
Yeah. No, I think it's probably a stretch, and I think it's probably Gmail placement. I think you're spot on. Because and it is the fact that the click is for expanding the ad. So with that in mind, that does make sense.
Okay. Anyway, I'll keep that in mind. I also stored that support ticket that you sent me, and I'll read through it later. This should have May 10th, 2020. So apparently it's been going on for, well, that question was from May 10th, 2020, right?
Yeah, but the question was literally from a Gmail campaign
So
query.
Yeah. So how could someone explain such a high CTR in a Gmail campaign? And the answer is that the opens count towards CTR as well. Okay. That
Exactly.
makes sense. That makes sense. I didn't know that. Can you imagine?
Yeah, exactly. But that is why. So what I think, what would be interesting, I'll check that in my own Gmail later, because this I don't know, is often you get people that just like for commercials, which is where your Gmail ad would pop up, is they just like select all from the tab and then set it open, so you don't get that notification like you have X number of open emails. Wondering if that opens the ad as well.
Yeah, that's another interesting point for sure. I mean, I'll try after a call. I'll see. I'll see what happens.
Yes. Okay. We have a question in the meanwhile from Legion. When you're doing the work, have you met situations that are very challenging or difficult and you could not find the answer on the internet? And I felt very frustrated about this. How do you deal with this mentally and practically?
Of course, these situations occur all the time.
Definitely.
And yes, they're challenging and difficult, especially if we have a client that is maybe waiting for an answer, or it's a situation with the account that's not quite satisfactory or something like that. And then I get why that should or could be difficult for someone or frustrating. That's easier said than done, but I think mentally or the way to deal with this is to compartmentalize work and life, or separate your work self from your private self, and also know that your worth isn't directly correlated or from the results that you drive in your work. So that's obviously that's been a learning curve I had to go through as well, because I can get frustrated rather quickly, I have to say. But at the end of the day, I mean, it's just work. Like, it's not a matter of life and death. It's not like we're doing open heart surgery or something. So I don't think you should be so hard on yourself in that regard. What helps is always like, I mean, I have my home gym right next door, so I just go out and like row a hard kilometer, and then that usually does the trick, right? So
yeah, no, but I agree. And also I think if the answer is not like readily available on the internet, just try to look at it as like a discovery, or like a hunt for the answer, like by just going back to the basics. And that's usually what I always try to go. If I don't know the specific answer for a quite technical question, I just try to revert back to the basics. And usually this involves a lot of ideas from like got your ads.
Yeah.
that just go back to like, okay, just basic advertising framework. How would this in theory work?
Yeah. Oh, and also, like what I've done over the last 1-2 years is just whenever I have a question I don't have the answer for, I just ask the community, right? I mean, there's PPC chat, there's PPC Live UK, there's all sorts of WhatsApp groups, or maybe, I mean, there's even this call, right, where you can ask questions. So usually someone always either has a solution or at the very least an idea of, you know, where you should be looking. So yeah, just don't try to do everything on your own, and just ask questions, and then that should usually point you in the right direction.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I think as well. Is I also will shoot Boris a message, for example, from, hey, ever saw this or done this, or what's the what do you have an answer for this? Or we hop on a quick call, and then I think the community is especially very, very helpful, and I think PPC has a pretty good community, to be honest.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So, but if you have any questions where you don't find the answer on the internet, or you have found an answer on the internet but you're not really satisfied with it, guys, feel free to drop it in the chat, I would say.
Yep.
In the meanwhile, I have a pretty interesting case from something that we discussed this week on a fairly large account of us, spending between 150 and 200K a month. And what we noticed was, so we were actually doing an experiment where we needed to push a bit more volume inside of the account. And so, yeah, most of the account is on target ROAS.
Yep.
So we lowered the target ROAS, and it's, for reference, it's almost all PMAX. I'm not sure that has anything to do with it, to be honest, but just for reference. And so what we noticed after about 20 to 30 days of data, the ROAS dropped to about the level where we set the new target, but the conversion volume did not increase. So we had a fairly similar amount of conversions.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I'm actually making a mistake now. We did have more conversions, but all the average conversion value, the average order value, dropped.
If it checks out to the same ROAS, then that's like mathematically that needs to be the case, right?
Yeah, exactly. So the idea that you can scale your account with and of course it's one case study, so it's not like definitive, but the idea that you can scale your account by lowering or increasing your target ROAS is, in this specific case, let me put it like that, disproven. Like, we got more conversions, but the AOV was lower because we were bidding in lower value auctions.
Yeah.
And the conversion value over time stayed the same.
That's interesting. Can I ask what's the product, or?
Yeah, sure. It's I won't go into too much specifics, but it's products for the house, for inside, and the AOV is relatively high. Like, some products are into the thousands of euros, some are 100 euros. Average order value is around 400 euros for the specific account.
So is it a seasonal product? Is it something that, I mean, given the higher AOV, it's probably something people buy only once every couple of years, right?
Yes, correct.
Yeah. Okay.
And there is some form of seasonality to it, but also not that
I mean,
extreme.
I mean, so if you imagine like your total addressable market, I think, for the product, which, you know, is like 100%, and then the share of people at any given point in time that are ready to buy is probably not higher than 2 or 3%. right? Because not everyone from that total addressable market buys all at once.
Correct. Yep.
So it may well be just a demand problem, right? So you're capturing all the demand and then you're trying to scale the account, but you've actually hit all the demand already. And now you're just spending more. So that you may be able to squeeze like some additional conversions, but not to the point where it like manifests in revenue also.
Yes, I think you're right, but I think it needs to be looked from one level higher, from global. So I think we didn't attack the full, the total addressable market. I think just the auction is
sure. Yeah.
So we just aren't. So Google's just not giving us, quote unquote, additional conversion value.
Yeah.
They just changed more conversions with lower value for less conversions with higher value. So then the question becomes, okay, in a very competitive market that is demand gen driven, because it's not a it's a multi-brand store. So you live and die with the how popular the brands are that you sell. How do you extract more value out of that market without, how, because I wanted to say without dropping your target ROAS, but now we just saw that even if you drop your target ROAS, it doesn't really work like that.
Well, I mean, that's a tough one to crack for sure. I mean, the obvious answer would be, but that probably doesn't apply to that sort of product because it's higher value. But the obvious answer would be to like bundle up or, like gamify checkout a little bit and like, hey, if you spend 100 more, then you'll get this goodie or something like that. So I'm not sure how applicable that is to your specific situation. That's something I would probably look at. Yeah, and I mean, repeat purchases are out the window for sure. So that's not something that you're gonna do. So if we're, I think an industry I've read about a lot and that I've thought about, like how does this even work, is like B2C mattresses, right? So your Emma or your 8 Sleep or something like that. They very well funded. I think many brands belonging to the same VC or something.
Yep.
But that's sort of the same situation, right? I mean, how often do you buy a new mattress? Every 8 to 10 years. So how do you squeeze additional revenue out of those people? That's through accessories or like dog beds, pillows, bed sheets, whatever. So if there's accessories that are applicable to your clients or to that store, like that'd be a good way to bundle up, I think. Or like get the first purchase and then like bombard them with emails with accessories or something like that.
That's fair. I'm not gonna go into the industry, but I can maybe at some point we can go into it because the industry doesn't really lend itself to that model. So it's really, really difficult actually.
It didn't tell me before I did all that blah blah.
I thought it was interesting.
Sure.
But I do think that I do think that there is. I do think it's a valid question, and this is, for example, why I think there's a big, and Google doesn't miss out on it because it's better for them this way. But for advertisers, there's a big missing out in the bidding strategies. The portfolio ones is max conversions or max conversion value with a bid cap.
Yeah, I see that.
That is
not often enough. I see that. I mean, we've talked about that.
No, but it's not there, right?
Oh, yeah. It's only 2 bid strategies that where you can actually do that, right? Yeah. That's
TCPA and TROAS.
Exactly.
So in theory, very low TROAS with bid cap should be the same, but it's not 100%. But that would be actually really, really interesting for advertisers that want to scale, but they know their conversion rate, so they know practically what they can spend on a click. Yeah. And anyway, we have a couple of questions that came in, but I think let's put a pin in that because that's actually a really interesting conversation for another time. Question from Nick. Guys, may I ask if you're using Power Query on a regular basis?
You may totally ask, and the answer is that I don't use it on a regular basis. I don't know nearly enough about Power Query. So yeah, that's one of the blind spots actually that I think I have, and I'd need to brush up on a lot of like statistical analytical skills for sure. Yeah. So
Same for me.
thanks for putting your finger in that wound, Nick.
Thanks for calling us out.
Man.
You got a question from Legion again. It is suggested that setting match type to phrase and exact match types when you are starting a new account and not using smart bidding. But how to decide which are phrase and which are exact? What bad results would it have if I just put all the keywords to be phrase match?
Do you want to take this one first?
Sure. Yeah, so I think, first of all, what you need to be aware of is that phrase match is no longer the phrase match we used to know. Like a couple of years ago, phrase match was really like all long tail keywords that contain the word combination that you now have. Phrase match is now much more like broad match and much less like exact match. Like it's very, very close to broad match. So I think what you could try is setting phrase match and then following up on the search terms really close and setting the good search terms as exact match keywords, or go exact match from the start, so that you at least know what you will. Because even close variants on exact match, those are even getting broader and broader. Like I've seen some close variants that I was like, yeah, this is not even close at all.
Yeah, same. I don't know what to make of phrase these days, to be honest. So I mean,
do you use it?
Yeah, truth be told, like if it's a local lead gen thing, I start out on all phrase, just to see what I can get, and then I take it from there and decide if I should broaden it up or if I should just revert back to exact. But I think it's still a good middle ground to start on. And either way, if you're starting out with broad or on phrase, I mean, you should have like a very solid negative keyword list in the account already. So, there shouldn't be so many things that could go like totally wrong. So yeah, I usually start out with phrase match and then see if I should narrow it down or broaden. That's sort of it's not a rule of thumb, but that's just how I like things to be.
Yep, I can see that. That makes sense. Question from Eldar. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I don't know what I was going to say, so just go ahead.
Question from Eldar. Building on the question above, if you go with broad match and in search terms you get some terms that are mapping to the keyword and are doing good, do you refeed the terms as exact phrase or do you put them in as broad again? Doing my weekly search query report check at the moment, so kind of popped in my head. You want to take this?
Yeah, so the way I look at search query reports is whenever I add something in, I look at, does it fit in that ad group or does it fit in another ad group? And we've talked about this before as well. I mean, the way to decide this is is this search term, can this be served by the same landing page or do we need another landing page with that? And then the other thing I look at is the performance from that search term. So I only add in search terms if they convert and if they have the potential to improve my ad group's performance. So that's like my general way of thinking about that. What was the rest of the question? Do you refeed the terms as exact phrase or do you put them in as broad again? All right. So if that's sort of a double-edged sword. So you'd be inclined to just go with exact, like whenever you see something in the search query report and you put that, that converted, and then you put it in as a keyword, and then you go back the next day, and what do you see? Low search volume. We don't want that. So if an exact match search term has potentially, I want to say, more than 50 impressions a month, then you can add it in as a keyword. It used to be 30, but I think, sort of my conspiracy theory, I think Google is slowly creeping up that threshold of low search volume. So stuff that used to get impressions all of a sudden doesn't get impressions anymore. So yeah.
Yeah. To build on what Boris just said is, I think when we use broad match keywords, which is especially for high volume accounts where you can have a TROs or a TCPA, so you like have this control boundary, is I try to look at keywords, broad match keywords specifically, more and more as signals, which is how Google wants us to see them. And I'm trying to prepare for a future where we potentially don't have the keywords anymore or only broad match keywords. So, and then basically how it works for me is like a shopping feed. So, okay, you see search terms that perform really well for you. How do you get them to show even more, or how do you ensure that you show more? So now you add the search term as a keyword, but you also add the search term to your RSA copy. Or if you have dynamic keyword insertion, then of course, then you will have it if you add it as a keyword.
Yep.
And potentially also you try to find a way to add the search term or that specific query onto your webpage copy. Like write an article about that specific search query, or make sure you can add it a couple of times into your body copy, or even in a couple of headlines, so that Google picks up on that. So, but I don't usually add it as exact or phrase anymore. If we are going with a broad match strategy, then we're usually pretty all in on the broad match strategy.
Yeah, I mean, if it's even in the documentation, right? If you add broad match, then automatically that includes all the other match types as well. Isn't that what they say? Right. So there's still a place for including other match types as well, but as soon as you put broad in anyway, it's going to eat up most of your spend. So yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I think as well.
Yeah.
Nick says, "Thank you guys for the answer." I think he had to go.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Well, while we're waiting for a couple of other questions, any other that you might have gotten throughout the week? Because I know you've been more involved in like the coaching program or program. I mean, sorry, not the coaching program. I mean, coaching for other agencies or guiding them in their teams.
I mean, not to throw anyone under the bus, but I just think that the bar is really low. For real, I've seen so many accounts, and it's a jungle out there. Like, it's not small brands, not small spend accounts. It's like big, well-known brands inside of Europe. And some of the stuff I've seen is just outrageous. So we're talking no tracking, everything on max clicks, low volume accounts with 3 RSAs per ad group, stuff like that. So yeah, all this to say, I think our jobs are pretty safe. If that's the bar, like, I don't know, everyone in the PPC Live group can like easily pass that, easily. So maybe that's as a word of encouragement. Like, the other question obviously is always like, how would you get clients and stuff like that? But I don't have a satisfactory answer for that. But yeah, AI isn't going to take our jobs, and like big agencies are struggling as much as we are with some of this stuff because they don't know any better than we are.
Yeah.
If anything, they have closer contacts to Google and Google Reps, so that's probably
Probably even
an
worse.
explanation of what I've been seeing these last couple of weeks.
Yeah, I mean, if any brand owner hears this in the future, I don't think there's anyone here, but if any brand owner hears this in the future, if you see Google Premier Partner, like run very fast. And I'm over exaggerating, of course.
I only said this because I know that no one from the agencies that I'm working with right now is on the call. Right. So maybe we shouldn't put this episode on YouTube, by the way. Or I'll just cut it out.
Cut some stuff out. You're like, bleep, bleep.
Exactly. Oh,
Christopher says, "Well, interesting to hear that. Helps with my imposter syndrome."
dude,
Um,
having imposter syndrome isn't such a bad thing. You just need to realize that we all suffer from that, and it comes with the work. And like everyone else, if you go on socials, like everyone's apparently killing it. Right. But if I speak to, I speak to other freelancers, I speak to agency owners, I speak to all sorts of people, and everyone is struggling in some capacity. So it's not like I would never take things at face value unless someone shows me their bank balance. For real. For real. I wouldn't trust my brother on any of this. Like I'm just being sorry, I'm really being very cynical right now, but at the end of the day, there's always layers to this. So
true.
It's natural.
Yeah, and I think we just onboarded a new employee this week, and I'm not gonna name drop, but he comes from a very big, well-known Google Ads agency.
Yeah.
And so of course onboarding, we had the onboarding call, the welcome call, and I showed him to our knowledge base. And he said after the first day, I asked him like, okay, you had the time to go through. What did you think? And he said, you're 10 times smaller right now than the agency I used to work at.
Yeah.
And your knowledge base is far better. So just to say, like, even bank balance doesn't necessarily mean that a company is really good at Google Ads.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
In the meanwhile, another question came in from Legion. If I'm targeting USA, should I include Spanish as the language in the same campaign or start another campaign?
If you're targeting, oh, sorry, the phone is ringing. Maybe you take that question, right?
Yeah, sure. I'll take it.
Sorry, man.
Hey, no worries. Go for it. So, okay. So first of all, what I think that you need to think about, Legion, is how Google will interpret the language aspect. So Google will not only look at like what people have their browser set to English. Google will look at is there any signal that you understand English? So it will use where do you live? What kind of videos do you watch on YouTube? What kind of blogs do you read? What do you write in your Gmail? Like, do you write in English? So Google will take any signal if a person speaks English and use that signal to show them an English ad. So, and he is back.
Yeah,
I was just saying that Google will take any signal for as to. So if you set your language to English, Google will take any signal it can find. Also, what you read, what you write, what you see on YouTube, to say, okay, this person has an understanding of English. We can show him an English ad. So, coming to the part of the question of the separate languages, I would say it depends for me on the landing page. If you have both languages on your website, then I would segment them out into different campaigns and have a Spanish campaign with Spanish keywords with Spanish landing pages and an English campaign with English keywords with English landing, and copy and English landing pages. But if it's the same landing page, then I would keep it in the same campaign. I've actually even seen cases where Google translates the keyword, so the search term was a translation of my keyword itself.
Wow.
So that's how I would tackle it.
Okay.
What about you?
I didn't get half your answers, so I can't say anything about that. So maybe should we? Lijun, is that a satisfactory answer, or should we expand on that?
Yeah, let us know in the chat. I would say it is good. Okay.
All right.
Cool. Okay. Question from Eldar. When starting a new campaign with no conversion data, how do you approach the setup? Max conversions, manual CPC, or even max clicks with a bid limit? Obviously, this goes until we get enough conversion volume to get a TCPA or TRO strategy going.
I've experimented with different bidding strategies, to be honest. So I regularly reference that lead gen client that I have with the 30 to 35 vet clinics that are up and running with different Google Ads accounts. And we've seen good success when starting out with max conversions on a new account. So if we take a step back and remember, so max conversions basically tells Google, hey, Google, here's my budget for the day. Please spend it all while trying to get me as many conversions. I think it's a good way to really generate data quickly, because it's going to try and spend all your money each and every day.
Yeah.
So that's how I like to go about this. I think max clicks is a bit more icky, because I mean that just tells the bidding strategy, right, spend all my money and get me as many clicks as I want, but there's not necessarily any sort of conversion action or goal attached to it. So I like to start with max conversions, actually, more than I like to start with max clicks or MCPC even.
Yeah, that makes total sense to me. For me, it depends on is it a completely new account or just a new campaign? If it's a new campaign and there's conversion data present inside of the account, I will definitely look at max conversions or potentially max conversion value, depending on what kind of conversion action you have. In a new account, I tend to go with manual CPC, just because how I understand it, and this might be wrong, I'd love to get your thought on this. How I understand it is manual CPC is a bid that I give, like fixed bid somewhere in the auctions. There's no learning behind it. It's just my bid, right? And and Google will place me wherever it can based on that bid. Whereas max clicks, there is some sort of learning. It's not smart bidding, as in it doesn't optimize for your conversion action, but it will optimize to get you the maximum amount of clicks and change up your bid based on that.
Okay, yeah.
That's how I understand it. So I like, if it's between those two, I like manual CPC a lot better, because actually upping my bid will actually increase my placement.
That's true. Yeah. I should have clarified maybe that when I start out with max conversions, that's not just a new campaign, but that's actually a completely new account inside of that client's MCC.
Okay.
And that tends to work very well. Yeah.
I wonder, does the account already have like analytics and stuff like that set up on the website? Or is that from new again? Is that from the start again?
That's completely from scratch. So I set up these accounts, I set up GTM, I set up all the tracking, all the analytics. So there's no prior data, and there's also no MCC tracking or anything involved. So it doesn't share conversion actions or revenue across child accounts.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, I think also max conversions, honestly, I like it as a bidding strategy, just in general. So
good stuff.
I think that it gets a lot of hate often, and like, oh, if you don't use a TCPA, like you're a bad Google Ads marketer. But to be fair, if you have a fixed budget, like that doesn't really change.
Always depends. If the objective is to generate as much data as quickly as possible, then it's a good strategy. Of course, like after like whatever 30, 50 conversions, then you maybe can set a TCPA. That's not discouraged. Put it that way, right? But to start out and get up and running, it's a neat little strategy for sure.
Yeah, I think so too. What's your take on like the entire account should be on TCPA or TROAS, or what's your take on it?
I have no take on that. I've learned, like I used to be very dogmatic on that. Like I used to be like, okay, like if it's an e-com, then you should be running on TROAS. If it's a lead gen, you should be running on TCPA. If it's like a small account, you should be using MCPC. Like all of that stuff is sort of out the window for me. So I've seen too many accounts where like stuff that shouldn't be working used to work. And I've seen too many accounts where, you know, it was set up according to best practice or what I thought was going to be working. And it just was dead on arrival. So it's whatever works for that campaign or account. And if MER, for instance, or NCAC is good, then what do we care? Right. The only thing that we care about is does it generate enough new customers? Does it scale? What's the cost per new customer?
Yeah, that last part is so crucial for me. And this is really where I think a lot of, and I mean, I do understand why we use a lot of TCPA, a lot of TROAS, obviously, but I do think this is where a lot of PPC specialists go a bit absolute. And then what if you have a client that asks you to scale?
Yeah.
Like, and now you're like, sorry,
Well,
I can't. The
sorry,
TCPA is not letting me spend any money.
Sorry,
I'm actually even spending less money.
I've been teaching the thing to just get conversions at this CPA or below. tough break, client.
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of my point. So I agree with you. Interesting.
Cool.
Did I miss any questions? Because
there's another one by Li Jun about, and what is the best material to learn about conversion tracking?
Yeah, you want to take this one?
I mean, there's two that come to mind for me. The one is what's the guy's name? Julian from Measure School. So he's got a very cool YouTube, like where he's shows you all sorts of neat little tricks with GTM and stuff like that. And then obviously I got to mention the PPC Mastery guys and conversion tracking. That course that they brought out, I think that's super practical and useful. So I like those both. Yes, Geert, I knew you were going to say Mastery.
Yeah, no, but it's true. I mean,
yeah.
I think it's Bob that teaches it, right? I mean, Bob. I mean, he knows his stuff. Like his conversion tracking module was really, really good, and I don't have any affiliate relationship, but I do. It's a really good module. So, Bob, if you're watching this, subscribe this for free.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. No, but yeah, that's pretty much also my go-to. And then also I gotta give a shout out to Luc Nuchter. He actually shares some really someone with whom I'm interacting quite a bit on LinkedIn actually, and he shares some really cool stuff as well.
Okay.
So if you haven't followed him on LinkedIn, I'd say definitely do, because he shares some neat tricks and some very advanced Shopify tracking as well.
Honestly, I couldn't tell you. Like my LinkedIn is going bonkers lately, so I have no idea who I'm following anymore. Like it's just all.
Here it says Nick Van Mare has great tips as well.
Mhm.
Okay, sure. See, we have a nice little list here of conversion
Yeah.
tracking. So Lijun, I think this should really
You should
help.
go and purchase all them courses.
Christopher says, should get Bob to come on here one day.
I don't know, man. Only if we can like make a meme tournament or something.
Yeah, that would be what we need.
That'd be cool. Like a nice little bracket, like March Madness, and then like a meme off.
Yeah, but who's going to decide on which meme wins?
I don't know. Obviously, I can't be the judge because I'm not very impartial.
True. How about we just let the number of LinkedIn likes?
Ooh.
But then if you have more followers, you're biased. So I mean, you're more prone to winning that.
I don't know. I mean, I can think of I can think of a way where you can normalize the likes and stuff like that.
That's a good one.
You know, like make a factor or something, and then that should work. But I'm just being stupid again. It's Friday.
No, but if you guys have any other suggestions on who we should have on at some point in the future, definitely let us know, because we already had Sarah on, which was a really good episode. So anyone you think should be great to have on.
I mean, I'm still banking on Amalia, of course, but she needs to come back from parental leave first. So I mean, that would have been a great episode. I can think of others
Absolutely.
as well. I can think of. I mean, Julie Beccini would be a great guest, for instance. Like she has she has great perspective on a lot of that freelance and PPC life in general.
Absolutely.
Oh,
Here it
Niels.
says Niels Royma. Yeah, that would be.
Do you think he would come on? I'm not sure, man. We're just two idiots, like talking to five people.
Don't give up on that. Don't give up on that 30 people that will come on, and then you'll play the guitar. So
that'll never happen.
no, but yeah, I think
Okay.
I mean we've talked about this and we have a pretty neat list. I see we have 5 minutes left. So guys, if you have any other question, drop them in the chat now, I would say.
Yeah, that'd be a good time. Otherwise, I'm just gonna hop off the call right now.
Christopher says maybe Mike Rhodes.
Yeah.
I mean, that's cool. That would be cool to have him on.
Good idea. Should we exclude free? In most cases, yes.
Yeah, exactly. Free, cheap.
Exactly. Exactly.
Unless you're selling cheap stuff, of course. Then.
Or you're offering like a free consultation or something, then you should not exclude free. Because that'll you'll shoot yourself in the foot. But yeah, usually free is like in my library of negatives to exclude at all times.
Yep. Okay, I think I think those were the questions. So
amazing.
What do you say we round it off here and let people go back to probably work, since it's 4 p.m. But after that, a Sunday afternoon, hopefully.
Yeah, I'll head to the gym now and do some squats or something.
That's a really good idea.
Cool. Thanks, guys, for showing up on this lovely Friday.
Yeah, thanks for everyone who joined. Hope you guys have a really nice weekend. And yeah, Boris and I will start posting our episodes on the YouTube channel. So maybe if you have the link, Boris, let's drop it in the chat, and then wish you all a happy weekend.
Yeah, one sec. I'll just. Where is it? Now I can't find it anymore.
I think we put it in the Slack group, right?
Yeah, I'll put it in the group. Oh no, where is it? Oh, I got it. Sorry, I just have like the 10,000 tabs open syndrome, so it's stuff isn't very easy to find. I'm afraid.
Clicking through all of them.
Yeah. Okay, guys.
5 websites nobody should ever see.
Oh hell no! You know me too.
Bye, guys.
All right,
Yeah.
bye.
Bye.